there is this false narrative that museums are neutral to political issues, but everything is political. We're looking at museums that are pushing boundaries, who are boldly participating in the conversations around the major issues in the United States of America. They are reframing the role these institutions play in helping to shape, define, and preserve today for the future. This is On Display. Few things have shaped the American identity as decisively as immigration. These immigrants literally made New York City one of the most dynamic and innovative places in the world. Their stories is that of America's history. We know that the narrative now moves towards who gets to be an American. It's important to first remember that this controversy isn't new. Throughout our history, prior generations have voiced similar concerns that new waves of immigrants will somehow make America less American. I think despite the fact that there's all these conversations around how problematic immigrants are and how they're not good for the country, there are organizations like the New York Historical Society working to combat that narrative.
In 2017, we wanted to figure out a way to help new Americans or aspiring Americans become citizens. Now, we teach 200,000 school children each year and have developed curriculum materials for the 11th grade regents. So we thought, why not marry what we're doing here already with helping new Americans pass the civics portion of the naturalization test? And so the Citizenship Project was born.
We are trying to educate a group of immigrants who are not educated here and have to study 100 questions in English. So the museum is offering this novel approach to learning for them that I think they have enjoyed. You know, otherwise, just sitting at home reading a flashcard. You can actually feel, touch, and see some of these things that you have only thought about on a flashcard.
So one of the questions on the civics portion of the naturalization test is what was one of the causes of the Civil War? And the simple answer is slavery. But what we do is we take our class participants up to our Luce Center and show them a maquette of Harriet Tubman. She escaped from Maryland, and she returned 13 times to save over 70 slaves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we ask our students, what does it make you think about the importance of the role that she played during the Civil War?
Yeah, she was known as a conductor, so I can also see that kind of probably why she's leaning forward. She's conducting and leading people into freedom.
Right.
And also the train tracks as well, right?
Exactly.
Because my family is a first generation to this country, it was always interesting to see works in the museum that related to their history. I work in museums, and this is an issue that is close to me, and it is an issue that I'm happy to see that museums are also thinking about and talking about as well. And so why is this work important to you, Monique, personally?
So for me personally, I'm an immigrant. I've been here, I think this is gonna be my 20th year, and I had to go through the immigration process. And although I went to college here, I have a master's degree, I went into the interview and I was so nervous. You know, I knew I only had 6 questions to get correct, but you know, it's a daunting process of someone being there and you're like, oh Lord, did I memorize all of these questions correctly? So for most people who are not college educated, are not affluent in, you know, speaking, you know, it's a nervous experience for them.
I've really been I'm privileged to not know any of these things because my parents came here to this country and did all that hard work for me. I think it's so important, even though I am an American citizen now, for me to understand just how hard and difficult it is to become a citizen now of the United States of America.
I would say in the last 3 years, this administration has made it really tough for people to even consider becoming a U.S. citizen. The anti-immigrant message that you're hearing, nobody thinks about immigration and the museum as a place of learning, of helping green card holders. So those things, a program like this is what is encouraging people to apply.
I think it's really critical that museums move away from this narrative that they aren't political. Any stance that you take, whether you talk about something or not, you've taken a political stance. People often think about museums as places of the past that tells history, but we know that history is continuous, history is ongoing, and so they also can be a part of this historical present moment in the narrative around who immigrants are. The Tenement Museum provides an opportunity to learn firsthand about some of our earliest immigrants here in the United States of America. There are wonderful objects and documents that show just exactly how their experience was here in New York City. And they also show some of the correlation between past immigrants and current immigrants today. Why was it important to preserve the very space where immigrants once lived?
These are spaces where people were living and working and cooking and cleaning, raising families. For people to be able to really realize that these were not easy conditions. And when we're really lucky, we're able to make the connections to the present. And so for people to realize that for immigrants coming today, often their conditions are not much better.
As I think more and more about this narrative, I become more and more proud of my mom and dad. I don't know how they did it. I have no idea if I would be able to do it. Honestly, if you put me anywhere with less than $50, what? And so do you think immigrants who came here 100 years ago are different from the immigrants that come today?
Fundamentally, not really. We're looking 100 years ago, more of them would have been coming from Europe. So people are browner now. But in terms of people coming for opportunities, those are still reasons that people come today.
I find it so interesting that in the past, you had so many Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants, the Jewish immigrants, and commentary around them not being able to be American enough. And we see that same rhetoric today, even though it's towards a different group of people. These stories help us to understand our national identity. America is an immigrant story. We know that the entire emphasis and basis of who we are here in the United States extends or speaks to the immigrant experience.
For a lot of the immigrants, to the extent that there already were some people from within their communities here, there would be often like a mutual support society that might help in terms of, this is how you find a job, some diet advice, even though sometimes the diet advice was, make your food blander because what you eat is too spicy. Which no. Okay, yeah. We know spice is fine. Yeah.
What we see is that museums are moving towards what they should be moving towards, tackling real issues that people that are coming through their doors every day are dealing with. I think when these institutions begin to talk about them in real ways, then you get the larger public to really understand it. How do you see museums playing a role in talking about these issues that relate to immigration?
History can speak for itself, and museums can be a forum for those conversations. We have a Tenement Talk series where we will often invite community leaders, government officials to talk about issues that are related to immigration. But if you're an art museum, there's the opportunity to share the arts that are created by immigrants, to think about the way the art is displayed. Are you allowing people to tell their own stories? I mean, speaking of stories, another thing that we've done is Your Story, Our Story, where there's an opportunity to really encourage people to share either their own immigration story, migration story, refugee story, and it's through those stories that people are able to make connections to past, to present, to see so many of the common themes that like our shared humanity.
We all have an immigration story as well. Right. So kind of bringing it back to the present and not thinking about immigration as this thing that's far away, or thinking about this thing that within our national narrative that is problematic, that we all are immigrants.
The United States is always changing. So there isn't a point in time where you press a button and say like, okay, we're done. This is America now. I think in many ways, people come to museums, both bringing what they think they already know, and then, so sometimes what we share might support that, but sometimes it's an opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah, and tell the unvarnished truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Conversations around social issues are growing beyond museums' walls. And I think museums and a lot of museum professionals have decided that we should also be having these conversations in our spaces. So we do see this boiling up of this movement now becoming a force. I think museums can and do have the power to change and shift narratives and to change and shift people's experiences here in the United States of America.